Okay, welcome to the North Jersey Astronomical Group. My name is Kevin Kanad. I'm the president of the club, and welcome to our January meeting, our first meeting of 2022. And we're going to have a little presentation here this evening. Some of our members have been working with Mark Zdarsky to do some training and learning in the nighttime sky. And so they're going to share with us tonight some of the interesting things they've learned about the nighttime sky. Mark is going to do a little introduction for us here. And so, Mark, if you want to start your sharing, go ahead and take over.
Let's see if I find the right PowerPoint. This is it. Yes. We have January night sky and the night sky tour as two very different things. That comes later. If you want to stick around and learn what's going on in the January night sky, just wait till after the talks. Let me slideshow. Actually, a little bigger from beginning. Okay, everybody see that okay?
Yep. That's good.
Cool. So, hi, I'm Mark Zdarsky. I'm the current observing chair of NJAG. So we had, first of all, this little presentation that we're going to do is incredibly informal. So it's going to be lighthearted. It's going to be, not that in depth, but it's going to go over some of the things that we taught in the 3 classes. We had 3 Zoom classes over the holiday break for folks that want to, in our club that want to learn more about the night sky, how to navigate the night sky, and how to train on our equipment, on our telescopes to do public telescope nights in the future. Once the weather gets a little warmer, we'll be doing some in-person training with the telescopes. So we're going to learn, how constellations, they change. The sky changes through the seasons. The sky you see now is going to be very different than the sky you see in June, and same with April and October. And we're going to go over why that is briefly. A lot of people take it for granted. They don't understand, our small place, not necessarily in the universe, but in our galaxy. That's our galactic address. And we'll talk about those things. The other things we also went over was alignment stars for, if you have a go-to telescope, what are some of the, if you're not familiar with the brighter stars that you pick for alignment, which ones are good to pick, and which ones should you pick on what side of the sky? So we'll go over some of those things, and then we'll talk about a few of the favorite objects that various club members picked during the training session, and they'll get to talk about those objects as well. And Kevin Kanad will show where they are in the sky with stellarium as we go. So we'll be going a little bit of back and forth and that sort of thing. So let's begin. So once again, this is based on our Learning the Night Sky class that we do about every year, not always every year. So a couple of questions here. Why does the night sky seem to change throughout the year? Another one is why do the winter stars seem to blaze more brightly and the sky seem clearer than during, let's say, the summertime? And finally, again, which stars are the best ones to pick if you have a computerized go-to telescope? First of all, you want to put up a very familiar slide about, and this is, of course, obviously not to scale, it's exaggerated, and talk about the Earth's orbit about the sun, through one orbit. So we just passed, on the right-hand side, we just passed the winter solstice. If you look At the Earth's axis, it's tilted away from the northern hemisphere. It's tilted away. The southern hemisphere is tilted towards the sun. And opposite on the summer solstice, the northern hemisphere is tilted towards the sun, and the southern hemisphere is tilted away. That plays a part, you know, how high the certain constellations in the ecliptic are viewable in our night sky at different times of the year. For instance, right now, they're very high. And in the summertime, they're very low. Well, it's exactly the opposite of how the sun is viewed from Earth. During the winter, it doesn't doesn't rise. It doesn't go very high in the sky, and it sinks back down low and quickly. So we get a very oblique angle over here. The opposite in the summer, we get a very, you know, the sun, not necessarily near zenith, but depending on your latitude, it's much higher in the sky. We get a much stronger percentage of the solar radiation. But during the nighttime sky over here, we get the exact opposite. So most of those, a lot of times when you're trying to look at Jupiter, and it's in, hypothetically, it's in Scorpius, and it's very low in the summertime sky. Whereas in winter, when you happen to have the same thing, it's almost directly overhead, and it's usually like in, say, Gemini or something like that. So that's because you have the opposite effect. You know, so daytime and nighttime perspective are inversely proportional. One question to ask oneself is which ones are visible during the nighttime, which constellations on the ecliptic are visible during the nighttime. And so here's the Earth and here's the sun. This is, again, not to scale at any, you know, sense of the word, but it gives you the idea of where these constellations, again, this is the ecliptic, where they are in relation to Earth. So if you look at the Earth and the sun, directly behind, so if we take a line going this direction, right behind the Earth and continue out this way, this would be relatively around 12 midnight. And over here, you'll have your, you know, your horizon, you know, morning and evening sky, right? So what is viewable from this point on the Earth? So you're looking out this way. You can't look towards the sun. Everything here is in the daytime sky, so it's, you know, it's invisible. But everything you know, on this side of the Earth would be visible: Libra, Virgo, Leo, and maybe Gemini would be on the horizon over here. So these are the things that would be in the nighttime sky, and the ones that are crossing, you know, the meridian, or the meridian would be due south. Let's say hypothetically at 12 midnight, you know, this would be what you would see directly overhead. You know, Leo and Virgo would be, you know, kind of in that proportion. Just going with this particular diagram here. Again, you have the same principle here. You know, right now we've gone through, you know, January 1, you know, February 1, March, April, May, you know, June over here. And then, you know, so everything directly behind the sun, right? Sorry, directly behind the Earth on the dark side, you know, during night, is visible. So you would see Taurus, Gemini, Cancer, Leo from this perspective here. You'd see everything in here. You know, again, you're near the horizons here, and here you're near the zenith. So another perspective is the Milky Way. You know, goes back to that question. Well, I'll answer one of them. Why do some of the wintertime stars look more bright and blaze more brightly? Okay. Sirius is, for instance, that's the brightest star in the northern hemisphere. It's roughly eight and change light years away from us. Okay, so we can, you know, we can say that's the reason there. There's a lot more humidity in the summertime. Okay, we can say that as well. But if we're looking at these pictures, the night sky is clear, there's low humidity. What do we see a lot more of in the summertime? The Milky Way, a bunch of stars, gas, dust that actually obstructs a big portion of the view of that part of the sky. And then in the wintertime sky, you're looking out away from the core of the Milky Way. You're looking outside to the spiral, into the spiral arms, but it's thinner. It's not as thick and dense near the core. So during the summer months where, you're looking more towards the core in the thicker part of the Milky Way. And in the wintertime, we're facing the opposite direction, outward. This little diagram will kind of tell you the same. So when you're looking at the summertime, you're looking at the more densely. So you're not only going through the bars, you're going through all this density of stars and gas here. And in the wintertime, yes, there's spiral arms and whatnot, but it's a lot less. So that's really the major reason. Everything else aside. I'll quickly go over now our viewpoint here. This is our window, okay? So if we're looking, December, it's January, February, the sky is going to change, 10 p.m., 9 p.m., 8 p.m., 7 p.m. So let's say, middle of January right now, it's about 7:30, 8 o'clock. And this is kind of what you'd see. Now, facing south is basically, all of your, wintertime constellations. Over to the west, you have your fall constellations. They're kind of heading towards the horizon. And in the east, you have your springtime constellations. They're coming above the horizon. They're rising. So they're playing that part there. Above us here, you have circumpolar stars. And when we talk about circumpolar stars, the northern polar axis of the Earth points generally in the direction towards Polaris. So most of these stars in the north here, don't necessarily rise or set, but they rotate from our vantage point at 40 degrees north around Polaris. So this is kind of the view we see here. I should ask one more thing. Does everyone know how to read a star chart here? Okay, so I don't have to, again, this all at the perimeter is the horizon, and this is the zenith. Just to short there. Springtime sky, now you can see that, right? The Big Dipper was over here in the winter, and now it's directly overhead. Those stars that were in on the eastern horizon are now center stage. The wintertime stars are setting. In the summer, you can see, once again, here's the bulge of the Milky Way. And those springtime stars are now heading off into the west. And the autumn stars are now rising in the east. And then we kind of circle back in October. Your autumnal stars, Square, Pegasus, are near the zenith. Your summertime stars are now off on the horizon, and your wintertime stars are beginning to rise over here in the east. I'll go over this pretty quickly. These are the alignment stars that we were discussing. Not all of them are on here. These are some of the major ones. I put certain arrows in red and green here. And the reason why I'm kind of doing that is we're using the meridian, the southern horizon, right? And the north and south, we're splitting the sky in two here. Most of your computerized telescopes, when you enter your date and time and location, in its computer, it has a map of the sky, but it's not quite perfectly aligned with the sky right over your head. So in order to do that, you have to hone on a couple of alignment stars. Now, if you have an equatorial mount, you can add more stars, but we're going to only do with altitude azimuth mounts. So you'll usually pick two stars. If you're doing, you're going out and general observing, you're going to go out and look at stars on the east, and the west. You want to pick one that's to the east of the meridian and one to the west. That way, the computer's model can line up properly as much as it possibly can to the sky that is actually overhead. So when you go through your database, Polaris is one you can choose, but it is right on the meridian. So maybe you don't want to always choose that. You don't want to go too far close to the horizon either, because of refraction. That can actually distort where the star's location by a little bit, not by much, but enough to throw off your go-tos on your telescope. So,
Mark,
go ahead. Yeah.
how many degrees off the horizon should we go? Should we limit ourselves?
I've done it where it's 20, 25, and you're pretty safe. Anything lower than that, then you got to start worrying. The closer you get, the worse it gets. So it's like the closer you get to the horizon, the more the distortion will be. So I would say 20, 25 degrees, you're okay. You're okay, unless you're looking for something that's on the horizon. Then maybe you want to line up over there. In particular, let's say if you're looking for Mercury, that's a different story. Then you definitely want to line up down there. But if you're doing a general night sky tour, if you're gonna go from an object in the east and then the west and the north, you're going all over the place. You want to pick one from either side, so that way it has a decent model of the sky. If you're going to stay in one part of the sky and you're not going to move, then okay, maybe let's say you pick Regulus, and then maybe you pick Sirius over here, and you're staying in this area of the sky and you're not moving. You're going to be very accurate in this part of the sky. So, some of these, again, brighter stars, and usually all of your star charts will usually have these names, Dubhe, Castor, Pollux, Betelgeuse. I put Castor and Pollux here twice. Sorry about that. Sirius, Procyon, Rigel, Regulus. Notice I put late there because it's kind of low to the horizon. So maybe, you want it to rise a little bit more off the horizon. Capella and Auriga over here. Skadar in Cassiopeia, Aldebaran in Taurus, Merak, Alpheratz. So those are the alignment stars you would use. Again, you pick something from the east side and something from the west side. That way your alignment will be as accurate as it can be. And if you're going to be all over the place, then that's what I would recommend. If you're going to be imaging and you're going to be imaging on one part of the sky, then maybe, stick to that part of the sky. Again, the same thing, your springtime sky, you have your eastern stars and in your western stars. And now you'll notice some of these colors have changed for the names because they've moved off to the west. So that'll change as well. And Regulus in April is close to the meridian. You may actually want to pick Arcturus instead. Spica is kind of close to the horizon, but it's still acceptable. And on the other side, Procyon, Betelgeuse, Capella, those are also, again, for the spring. And in the summer, you'll notice, the Dipper is kind of making this spiral, making this circular pattern around Polaris here. Those stars that in the Dipper that were in the red side are now on the green side because now they're on the western side of the meridian. Good summertime stars, Vega, Altair, and then Arcturus on the western side, and again Spica. In October, everything has moved off, and new stars will come up. So you'll be using the Great Square, Pegasus, all of those stars. The Alpheratz I have, highlighted here, but you can pick any of those. I wouldn't, you have Vega, Deneb, and Altair. You can use them, but they're relatively close together. You could pick one of them and then maybe pick something off to the east a little bit more. If I was going to pick Vega, I might pick Alpheratz as the next one. So I'm almost done here. So my two objects I picked, Mary Lou asked us to pick a couple of favorites, and these are, for me, these are wintertime favorites. These are star clusters. So the first one is actually two. It's the famous Perseus double cluster. And I actually didn't put a map up here because this nice image here, you can see the W in Cassiopeia. You come down from the star Scadar and you can see the Perseus cluster. And this is, these are considered an open cluster of stars. They're relatively young, but not incredibly, you have the 12.8 million years of age of stars. They're pretty young. They're 7,500 light years away. So these are what we call adolescent stars. They're stars that they were in a cloud of gas, dust. So they've used up their nebula gases, or they've expelled them out when the solar wind, when the stars ignite and the solar wind pushes them away, it disperses them. Combination of those two things, you're left with a bunch of stars and solar systems, and these are slowly drifting apart as they orbit the Milky Way. Second one I picked, and this is one of my favorite pictures of Messier 37, another open cluster, and this is Tolga Gamasayak's pictures. Perhaps one of my favorite. You can see, all the blue stars, actually white stars and some red ones in here. It's 4,500 light years away, and it's in Auriga, the Chariot. The other interesting thing about this particular part of the sky, it's the exact opposite direction of the galactic core, the Milky Way. So you're looking out directly away. When you look at this direction, you're looking directly away, the opposite of the center of the Milky Way. This is also an open cluster that, to me, it's kind of a tighter open cluster, so that it almost looks like a globular cluster of stars, but they're not. It's an older open cluster, and their age is about, there's a range, 350 to 550 million years of age. And I think that's it for my part here. I'm going to lead this into Chris Morrow, who's going to take over.
Okay. Thank you, Mark.
Yeah.
Well, let me see if I can share my screen, get that started. Let's see. I think this is what I want. Okay. No. Okay, can everyone see this?
Yep.
Yeah, looks good.
Okay. So the object I selected was M45, the Pleiades. This is my, I would say this is probably my favorite sky object to look at. It's a beautiful structure. It's an open cluster of relatively young blue stars. It has some nebulosity that really adds a tremendous dimension to it. It was designated by Messier in 1769, and the Merope Nebula down here was discovered or documented in 1859. So from that point of view, it's relatively new, but the legends and the mythology of the Pleiades go back thousands of years, and we'll get to that in a little bit. The Pleiades, it's approximately 440 light years from Earth, so it's a little closer than some of the other objects that, like the one Mark had just recently talked about. And it is, as I said, relatively young. Its estimates vary, but let's say around 100 million years since they were first formed. The star cluster is approximately 30 light years across and about 8 light years across the core, which are where all the bright stars are. Now, you think about the distance between, our sun to Alpha Centauri, which is, let's say, approximately 4 light years. So what you're looking at here is just a distance of about twice that. And look at how many stars are kind of jammed in there. It's kind of amazing to think about how close these stars are to each other. This turns out to be a really great binocular image. And some recent articles that I've read about the Pleiades, they recommend a 7x50 binocular to get really terrific view. It actually contains close to 1,000 stars, but many hundreds of stars. And a couple of things about it. The nebulosity was not the star-forming nebula. The Pleiades seems to be moving through a cloud, and so eventually it will go through that cloud, and in about 250 million years, the stars will drift apart and disperse, and so the cluster will no longer be what it is today. It will be quite different. This object has been viewed for thousands of years by civilizations around the globe. And the mythology runs from the Western mythology of Greece to the Aboriginal in Australia and the North American Indians. So a couple of controversies about the Pleiades. Usually there are 6 stars that are visible with the naked eye, and thus there's always been a myth and a controversy about, well, where's the 7th Pleiad? And so there's been some conversation that says, well, it was one star that was brighter and then it wasn't as bright and maybe it got hidden by something. The bottom line is that depending on your sky, you can see, in some cases, people have documented seeing as many as 20 stars in the Pleiades. But most often people say in a dark sky, you can see about 9 stars. So one of the stories I like about the Pleiades, the 7 sisters are the daughters of Atlas. And Atlas, as we all know, was condemned to hold up the sky for eternity. So he could not protect his daughters from the clutches of Orion. Orion was hot to trot, as they would say, after the Pleiades. So they appealed to Zeus. And Zeus placed them in the sky, protected by Taurus. So if you look at the sky, you see Orion, you see Taurus, and then you see the Pleiades protecting them. In North American Indian culture, these are the lost boys, or the orphans, and they were not cared for by their people. So the sun god caused a drought, which made the buffalo leave the hunting grounds and seek elsewhere. So what the Native Americans believe is that when the Pleiades is no longer visible, that's the time to begin hunting. And they will begin hunting until the Pleiades then reappear. So that happens, early May is when the Pleiades is not visible in the sky, and then it returns late June, early July. And there are similar myths for the Navajo, only theirs is related to planting of corn. So when the Pleiades disappears, that's the time to plant corn. Okay. Thank you very much. I'll turn over the floor to Jeff. So Jeff, here you go.
Thank you. Let me grab my stuff here. Okay. Okay, I want to talk about multiple star systems. And I was intrigued by these things because I read somewhere that 75 to 85% of the stars that we see are multiple star systems. And I was pretty surprised at that, although when you think about it, maybe it makes sense, as they're all birthed in these large clouds and not so distant from each other, relatively speaking. And so the likelihood of combining with other stars is, increases because of the density of the stars, the numbers of them. There's several types, and I'll talk about 4 of them here. There's an optical double, which are 2 stars that appear close to our line of sight, but are not gravitationally bound. They're just lined up conveniently. Another type is a physical double, which are stars that appear close and are gravitationally bound, but not in a mutual orbit. Another type is the binaries, which are the ones that we like to talk about. Two stars that are near each other, gravitationally bound, and orbit each other. And then there's a type of spectrographic binary, which are two stars that are determined to be a binary pair by use of a spectrograph. You can't split them with a telescope. They just have to be analyzed with a spectrograph to determine if there are two slightly different spectrographs showing up. Yeah, so it's determined that there are two stars there in reality. Some examples I've got here are Castor, which resides about 45 light years distant in Gemini. It can be located by imagining a line from Rigel in Orion passing through Betelgeuse and continuing to a pair of bright stars in Gemini. Castor is the northernmost of the two and is comprised, it alone is comprised of three pairs of binaries that share a common center of gravity. The telescope can split the pairs, but only two are visible because they're bright enough. The third pair is a pair of red dwarfs, and they're a little bit too dim to make out. Another example is Mizar Alcor, which resides in the handle of the Big Dipper, the second star from the end of the handle. I think it's the second, pretty sure. Mizar is about 78 light years distant, Alcor about 81. So good eyes can split them without help. And it was found that Mizar, which is the larger of the two, or the brighter of the two anyway, is a spectrographic binary comprised of Mizar A and B. It was further discovered that both Mizar A and B were each a binary, making Mizar a quadruple star system. Further to that, Alcor was found to be a binary, and more recently it was discovered that Mizar and Alcor are gravitationally bound, creating a sextuple star system. So, looking up and just seeing, with my old eyes, I see one star, and maybe on a good day I'll see two, Mizar and Alcor systems each, but there's actually, 6 stars up there that are related to each other. The last example I have is Albirio, and there's a picture of it right there. Thank you, Chris. And this is an optical double located at the foot of the Northern Cross in the constellation Cygnus. It's about 400 light years distant. One component A is a golden color, and the other is blue, B, which is blue color, which creates a beautiful contrast. It turns out that A is a binary too close to split. It's not yet determined if they are bound to each other, though. And that is all I have.
Great.
This was Omar's slide. Did Omar join?
Yeah, I'm here, Chris.
Oh, okay.
But feel free to drive.
No, you got the floor.
I was just trying to pass the buck. Thanks. No worries. No. So the target that I chose was M42 Orion Nebula. This is actually one of the closest objects that can be viewed, depending on your skies, with the naked eye. In some cases, standard set of binoculars. Even some of low power telescopes would give you a really good view of this particular stellar factory. It was discovered, I believe, by Christian, I'm probably going to butcher his last name, Huygens?
Huygens.
Huygens, thanks. I knew Kevin would correct me on that one. Back in 1610. It's relatively close to the Earth, about 1,300 light years, and it's a pretty large target with a radius of about 12 light years. Being roughly 3 million years old, again, it's available with the naked eye. What's interesting is back in 2006, the Hubble telescope detected over 3,000 stars in the stellar nursery. More recently, some photos have detected, brown dwarf stars that basically never made it. So there's definitely a lot going on in this object. some of the colors that are attributed to the different chemical elements, such as the orange is hydrogen and oxygen and also sulfur from some of the infrared light observations according to NASA. One of the things that is also interesting about this target is, talking about it, is that the Mesoamerica, the Mayans, used to consider this the cosmic fire of creation. So, again, this is the trapezium, which is basically the center of the star, the center of the nebula, is basically the core of this particular object. The photo that you're seeing is actually one that I took. It doesn't, when you look at it with the naked eye, it doesn't look like this. It's just because your eyes cannot discern between the the colors that are mostly seen with some of the traditional astrophotography or Hubble photos. So it's a common target. It's one of the favorites, and it's most often viewed, again, with the low power 8-inch or even smaller telescopes.
Nice shot, Omar. What scope did you use? What camera?
Yeah, that's a good question. This one, I think this one was actually done with the Takahashi BRC 250, which is a 10-inch telescope at f5. So the focal length on this was about 1,250, and this was done with a one-shot color ASI 2400, and just one single filter. I believe this was the I think this was actually either the extreme, Optolong extreme, or the triad. I can't recall. But it's actually posted on in our group with the details. So,
if I can come in here, Omar, I said this, but this is the first time I've seen a photograph of Orion like this that's almost three-dimensional. It's an incredible photograph. So congratulations.
Thank you, Terry. Yeah, this one,
Yeah.
I've shot a couple of these. This one actually came out pretty nice, considering, again, the area I'm in is in a Bortle 8 sky. So,
Right, of course, yeah.
Yeah, as most of us living in this area are. So, I know Mark's lucky. He lives in a Bortle. What are you, Mark? 4 or 5? So
5.
Yeah,
I'm a bright 5, but I'm a 5. Yeah.
yeah. So yeah. So great target for any beginning amateur astronomer to enjoy, and it's basically easy to get to. It's located in the Orion constellation Orion. I think just right below the Hunter's Belt. So if you can find Betelgeuse, you're just come down towards the bottom of Betelgeuse, and I think it's off to the right of it. So there are 3 stars right in the center of the constellation, and it's right below that. It's very easy to find in the night sky.
Omar, how long was the exposure on this?
The subs on these on this particular target, I normally shoot anywhere between 5-minute subs, and I've gone as long as 10-minute subs on some of the other targets that I've been posting out there. So but in all, this is a single night session. These are not run across multiple nights. This is basically about 3 hours, 4 hours worth of imaging.
It's gorgeous.
Thank you.
Really nice.
Thank you.
Nice job, Omar.
Thank you again. So yeah, unfortunately I only picked one, so this is all I got.
That's okay.
You picked a good one.
That's a good one.
Good one. Yep.
I'm gonna Mark, I'm gonna stop sharing, and I guess you can have the floor back.
Oh, or hey, Kevin, did you want to show anyone where some of these objects were with Stellarium, or does Mary Lou have something to bring up?
What about Ed? I think Ed had something.
Ed, I think Ed said that he couldn't make it tonight.
Yeah.
Yeah, we got an email from him a little while ago
Yeah.
that said he wasn't sure if he's going to be here, and I don't see him in the participant list. But I do have, he did send his list, and so I guess we could do that. Can you see Stellarium here?
Yes. Yep.
Okay.
Mary Lou, he said he had a family issue he had to take care of.
It happens, So yeah, Ed's list, he's got a list of alignment stars, and some of this may overlap what Mark had mentioned earlier in the winter sky. So he's listed some alignment stars that would be good for this time of year. And one of the ones that he picked was Polaris. And so we have here Ursa Minor. We've got Polaris and Ursa Minor. And of course, that's obviously a star that you
Hey,
need.
Kevin, we're seeing Orion.
Oh no, I'm not looking at Orion.
We see Orion, the
unless-
moon, Aldebaran.
Yeah.
I wonder
Well,
if I've got. I had
You
trouble.
have to turn it
earlier.
around.
Well, I did. I'm not quite sure what you're looking at here.
Did
unfortunately.
it
We're looking at
lock
the
up
south
on you?
sky.
It isn't locked up for me, but if
Oh,
it's locked up for you.
you're there now. You're good now.
Now it
Okay,
moved.
well, I just jiggle it around a little, and I don't know.
Uh-oh.
My guess caught up, but so here we are looking north, and we're focused on Polaris. They're in Ursa Minor. The dipper there hanging down from this time of year, and so of course this is a critical star for doing polar alignment on an equatorial mount, like a German equatorial type mount. But it also can be used for alt-azimuth mounts as well. And so it's a good star to be able to have in your little toolkit there. So let me try to go back around and look towards the south, and hopefully Zoom will show you that as well. Let me swing around to the southeast.
You got your cursor moving, but the sky is not changing.
Yeah.
Well, it is for me. I guess gonna wait a moment here for it to
Catch up.
catch up.
But if you can see it, it is catching up.
Probably a lot of bits it has to transfer.
Maybe in a couple hours.
Oh, is it just a delay in the video?
I
Could be.
don't
Maybe
know.
it's not.
I guess my laptop is not doing too well trying to do Zoom and Stellarium at the same time here.
Oh, okay.
Could be.
Well, that DSL line isn't going to serve you too well.
Uh-oh.
No, it's not the internet connection. It's the laptop itself, I think, is flaking out here.
Flaking out a little bit. Yeah, maybe it needs to be cleaned up a little.
Can you close any other apps?
But Kevin, we can see your mouse moving.
Yeah, I
Yep.
know. That's the weird thing.
Now we
Oh,
see
we see the
southeast.
side.
Yeah.
We see the south now. Yeah.
Okay, so so here we are facing the southeast part of the sky, and I've highlighted Sirius, and so that was his next guide star here. Sirius, of course, is a great alignment star because it's very bright and it's starting to get up higher this time of year, and so that's always a good one to use, Sirius in Canis Major. While we're here, let me skip to Procyon. You can see Procyon above and to the left of Sirius. And you've got a nice little pattern of stars here. If you start at Sirius, hop over to Procyon, and then go back to Betelgeuse and Orion, you make a nice big triangle here. And this is often called the winter triangle. We've got a nice summer triangle in the summer sky, but this is the winter triangle. And Procyon is in Canis Minor, and that's another good alignment star. Let's see, he also has Rigel, another prominent bright bluish white star in the foot of Orion, another good alignment star there. So you've got a couple of them here, all gathered in the same area of the sky. Let's see, I do need to move over to look at towards where Andromeda is. And so let me try to,
Somebody play some music.
yeah, really. So let me see if I can highlight Merak. Now, let me see if I can jigger this so that it pops up. Okay, do you see the western sky now?
There it goes. Yep.
Yeah.
It's almost as
okay.
if you have to click off of the map
Right, exactly.
And
I
then
have to
it
kind of
catches up. Yeah.
jiggle the image and it catches up. So here we are facing west, and Pegasus is down low. Let me just click on it here to highlight it. So you've got Pegasus' head is already down below the horizon here. But here's Andromeda sticking straight up in the sky almost in the west. And you've got Merak, Beta Andromeda is here. And that's another good alignment star. Ed mentions that this is about 3 to 4 times more massive than the sun, about 100 times the diameter. It's a red giant star. It's about 197 light years away. And in this area, we've got a number of objects here. Let me see if we can zoom in. And can you see the Andromeda Galaxy over on this side?
Hasn't zoomed in yet.
Okay, let me try to jigger it again.
Yeah, just click off the map. There you go.
Yeah.
Now you
Whatever
go.
you just did, that's what you want to
Yeah.
do again.
So right here is where you'll find the Andromeda Galaxy is not too far away from Merak. So you've got Alpheratz, which at the corner of Pegasus. You come down this kind of branch of Andromeda. You go down 1, 2, 3 stars, go up 1, 2, 3 stars, and that's where you'll find M31, the Andromeda Galaxy. This is a great object in the fall and beginning of the winter. This is going to start to get lower now, though, so definitely check out Andromeda before it gets too low in the sky. If you go in the other direction, if you go away from Andromeda, we end up over here. Whoops, I thought that was, nope. I'm looking for M33 here and can't quite see it in this view. Let me see if I can highlight it a little easier this way. Yeah, okay, I had it right. Right in here, if you go away from Andromeda, there's no little fuzzy spot in this part of the sky, and that's M33, the triangulum. That's
You mean to the upper left?
Let's see, let me try. You see it now?
There it is. Yeah.
There you go.
Yep.
Yeah.
In the
Okay.
center there is M33, the triangulum galaxy. And so that's another good one in this area. Okay. So I think that is it for this segment. Go. And then I've lost my Zoom window here.
Uh-oh, hate when that happens.
Yeah. Stop share. That's what I'm looking for. There we go.
There we go.
Okay.
Cool.
Okay. So, any questions about that? Anything else we need to say?
Great job, guys. It was nice few classes. I can't wait to, when it gets a little smidge warmer than it's been the past few days and another clear night. Maybe we'll work on bringing out the telescopes and doing some practice sessions outside.
Okay.
Yeah. Cool. Okie doke. Any other questions or comments there? If not, we'll.
So while we have Wayne
Yes.
Zuhl here, which we don't have very often, Wayne, do you have any particular objects in the night sky that you like to show people?
Mute.
There we go. I unmuted my the Zoom microphone, but not the actual headset. So yeah, thank you for welcoming me, number one. And I plan to be here far more often. I've been playing around with a lot of different things. I've been doing some planetary, some lucky imaging. and I've been doing a little bit of deep sky, mostly wide field right now. I just popped a couple images up on Facebook, but they were a little out of focus. But my Facebook friends think they're cool, but my astronomy friends know better. So I'm just working the process and learning modern astrophotography, because it's a lot different than back when I was playing with black and white film many years ago.
Were you using a
allow me
Schmidt
to
camera?
take-
I'm sorry?
Were you using a Schmidt camera back then?
No, I wasn't.
Allow me to take the opportunity, Wayne, to welcome you into the club. I saw your email. Wayne is now a member of our club. He's paid the dues, so it's great to have you. I know we've corresponded a little bit on Facebook, but yeah, that's great.
Thank
So I'm
you.
jumping the gun there. There's one other person that joined our club the first part of January too. I'll mention that later. Great.
Cool.
Great to have you, Wayne.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah. Let's see. I guess you want to go into the business part of our meeting here.
Yeah. Are we still on YouTube or?
Oh, yes, we are. So we do need to finish that up, and we'll segue into our business meeting.